Well, welcome. I want to thank you all for coming tonight and joining us at historic Woolworths. I'm Holly McCall, and I'm so lucky to be Communications Director for Bloomberg 2020 here in Tennessee. It's great to see so many faces out here that I recognize from activism. I'd first like to recognize our elected officials who are here tonight. I hear District Attorney Glenn Funk is in the house. State Representative Darren Jernigan. Mr. Bill Owen, a DNC member. Councilman John Rutherford and Councilmember Mary Carolyn Roberts. Thank you all for taking time to come tonight. Now, many of you know this building as one of Nashville's most important markers in the civil rights movement. At this counter upstairs, students from our historically black colleges and universities, including Fisk, Tennessee State University, Meharry Medical College, and American Baptist College, protested segregation and fought for change. To stand in this building is to be reminded of Music City's pivotal role in changing history. Once again, Nashville stands on the cutting edge of political change. Tonight, we welcome Mike Bloomberg to our city. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Now, you might not realize that while he is a recent entry to the presidential race, he is not new to Nashville. As I've been involved with this campaign this week, I keep hearing that Mike Bloomberg is a man who puts his money where his mouth is. A man who learned early in life from his father that we are all in this together, and that if you have the opportunity to help, you're obligated to act. He's put his money where his mouth is for Nashville more than once. His foundation, Bloomberg Philanthropies, teamed up with Nashville to help low-income residents reduce debt and build wealth, as well as help the city invest in data, informed decision-making, and improve services. And in this campaign, we can look forward to him investing in our political infrastructure. Democrats in Tennessee know it's been a long time since a presidential candidate took a hard look at the volunteer state and decided we were worth resources and worth building out a statewide campaign team. Friends, we're going to have 12 offices and 20 field organizers, and I can't wait. Because for too long, we've been at the mercy of a hardcore right-wing supermajority here. The Republican-led legislature has failed to accept Medicaid expansion money, resulting in 12 closed hospitals and critically ill neighbors. Tennessee ranks 7th in the nation for gun homicide, and our youth are suffering disproportionately. The state ranks 4th in the nation for gun deaths and homicides with young people under the age of 19. And yet, our legislature fails to take the problem seriously. In 2014, the Tennessee General Assembly passed a law allowing gun permit owners to store their guns in their cars. I guess you can imagine how that's going. In Nashville alone, 677 guns have been stolen from cars this year. In 2019, the legislature created a law that reduced the price for concealed carry gun permits and reduced training to a 90-minute online video. In Mike Bloomberg, though, we have a candidate who understands gun violence is a national emergency. He took on the NRA over a decade ago, back when neither party would touch it. He's serious about affordable and accessible health care, and just this morning in Memphis, he unveiled his new health care policy detailing achievable reforms for all Americans. He's already founded a pro-immigration organization. His organization supports students graduating high school with the skills they need to find solid jobs. You know, as a Democrat who's been working in the trenches here since the 1980s, I am so excited to have a candidate who cares about issues that are important to us and one who doesn't write off Tennessee. Those of us who've been organizing for years have seen incremental change recently, but through Mike Bloomberg's faith, confidence, and investment here, we will again make big political change. We will unseat some of our most reactionary legislators in Tennessee, and with Mike Bloomberg, we will unseat Donald Trump in Washington. Republicans, talk is cheap, but tonight I give you a man who backs his words with action, former New York mayor and Democratic candidate for president, Mike Bloomberg. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Holly and I were talking backstage about the campaign, and she said, I'm not so sure this country's ready for 2 New York billionaires. And I thought for a second, I said, Holly, who's the other one? Anyways, seriously, it's great to be here at Woolworth's. As Holly said, civil rights activists made history here and made our country freer and fairer. But clearly the work is not done yet, and you can see that just around the corner here at the state capitol, where a bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest still sits. And it turns out that, yes, you don't have to boo because the people are booing. The vast majority of the people of Tennessee in both parties, I'm happy to say, apparently want him gone. And when that happens, it will happen none too soon. I think that that was part of our history, that it's time to move on. And we have a lot of work to do to bring this country together, but we're here, and I've started to build a good team here, a great team. I had coffee before with your new mayor, who said that we put together the best team he has ever seen. I think he knows something about it. He just got elected, so he's a winner, and I think he's going to be a great mayor for the city. And I wanted to thank Courtney Wheeler, Ashford Hughes, Spencer Bowers, and Carol Andrews, and everyone else who helped us get going so quickly here in this great city of Nashville. I just came from our new headquarters a few doors down the alley. It is a great location, although I think it may be a little bit too close to Robert's Western World. I do not expect to see our entire staff there every night. Now, as Holly mentioned, I know you don't see many Democratic candidates coming here. I don't think that's good for the country, actually, because I think places like Nashville and states like Tennessee should not be ignored. And unfortunately, the candidates seem to focus on the first 4 races, and which I'm not going to participate in because I got in sort of too late to really build a team. But it's a long time since a Democrat made the state of Tennessee a priority, and that's wrong for this country. We've got to make all 50 states the priority states, and I'm determined to do that. If you think about it, Donald Trump has been trying to pull this country apart, and if you want to know the future, we just have to pull it together. We've got to unite America and start behaving the way we used to, or at least the history books said we used to. So I'm committed to go to every state. I'm not sure I can get to all 50 before the election, but I'm certainly going to get to those where the elections, where the primaries are in the month of March. And Tennessee is, I think, maybe the 4th of all of them that I've come to. I was in Memphis this morning, where I will say it was a lot warmer. Nashville should have done something about this. But this is just the first office that we're opening in the state. We're committed to campaigning here in Tennessee through November 3rd. We're not going to walk out right after the election. We're going to keep going so that we can send more Democrats to Washington and the state houses. And one of the things I'm proud of is that I supported 24 candidates in the 2018 election who were running for Congress. All 24 were good on guns and good on the environment, 2 of my biggest issues. I'm happy to say 21 of them won, and that flipped the House from red to blue. And that got Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, and that got the trials that the impeachment process that you've just seen. Before I go any further, I did want to thank the mayor for welcoming us today. I'm going to have dinner with him tonight. His family is a political family, as you know. His father was a governor, and his brother is in Congress. And it's great to listen to him about what the potential here is in this city. I remember getting, you're going to not be happy about this, but I actually convinced the CMAs to move from Nashville to New York for 1 year. Would you forgive me for that? Come on, I was mayor of New York. What'd you expect me to do? But I did get to meet Kit Brooks from Brooks and Dunn, and for some reason he never invited me to sing. Johnny Cash, I got to know a little bit. It was interesting driving into town to see the various venues where everybody used to play. The other industry that's really should be important to everybody in this room is the healthcare industry, which is what I talked about this morning. Unfortunately, of all 50 states, Tennessee has one of the highest rates of uninsured Americans. We've just got to do something about that. This is a country that is wealthy. This is a country that we think is compassionate, and to leave people without the ability when they don't feel well to go to a doctor, or if there's something really wrong to get treatment, is just something we should never tolerate. And this morning in Memphis, I announced a health care plan, which I think is practical. I think there's a decent chance of getting it through Congress, because if you don't have those two things, it's just pie in the sky and we're wasting our time and it's just hot air. But I think there is a ways to cover virtually everybody, and it's going to cost some money, but not to cost these obscene amounts of money that everybody's talking about that the country's never going to be able to afford. But we can do things. We can make sure that people don't get surprises on their medical bills for network charges and drug prices that we in this country, through the National Institute of Health, we pay for most of the research done in the world on drugs. And then those same drug companies say, oh, we have to sell those drugs to Americans for higher prices than they sell to any place else in the world. It's ridiculous. We've just got to stop any of this. And there's a whole bunch of those things. And the paper will cover it, I'm sure, tomorrow. I'm also going to Ohio tomorrow to talk about the same thing and explain how we can get dental care and eye care and hearing care for everybody. Yes.
Sorry, don't agree with you.
Okay. Miss, I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards. That's okay. Miss, okay, thank you. Hang on. I hear you. I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards. We don't happen to agree, but that's all right. We can have a conversation about it. So I'm glad. You have a right to your opinions. What you will agree with me on is that the president is certainly doing nothing about the opioid epidemic that has destroyed so many lives, particularly young people's lives and older men's lives. Those are the two groups that the suicide rate all of a sudden is just off the charts, and the overdose rate is really something we cannot live with. Let me step back for a second and tell you a little bit about, for a few minutes, about why I'm running and why I think we can win and what I think we should do in this country. The first and most important thing is to defeat Donald Trump. It's just, he is just an existential threat. We cannot have 4 more years. We can't have somebody that keeps dividing us and ripping us down. We've got to take on the tough challenges of jobs and guns and climate change and rebuild America. And he's obviously not going to do that. So I think that's the most important thing. And some people have said, oh, you're spending all this money. And I said, yeah, I'm spending all this money. I'm spending all this money to try to replace Donald Trump. You want me to spend more or less? And that all of a sudden changes the conversation. I think that I could do the job. If you take a look at New York City, it's the most progressive city in the world, and certainly in the country. It's the biggest city in the country. We have every group and every problem that every other city has, and we just have it in a bigger scale. And in 12 years, I cut the murder rate in half, or the team that I put together did. We cut the incarceration rate by something like 40%, and the recidivism rate by 40 or 50%. We cut our carbon footprint. We're working on closing coal-fired power plants, and we've raised teachers' salaries by 43% in the 12 years I was in office. And incidentally, I should point out, in return, the teachers did the job because graduation rates went up by about the same amount. So they did. You know, people say, how can you fight Trump? Let me tell you, We fought him already, and we beat him. We beat him on guns with the NRA. We beat him on climate change, where he didn't want us to close coal-fired power plants. We beat him on the tobacco industry, where he didn't want us to stop all the vaping and all of the flavored cigarettes that young kids are using. And I think we can win this election. I think that we can explain to the middle of the road that people that we can have a change that is evolutionary rather than revolutionary, that we really can address these problems. Okay, well, look, nobody's working on timeout. Timeout. Just, okay, brother. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to talk to you and the young lady next to you afterwards. Okay. Okay, I hear you, but just stop it. I'm doing more on the climate than you've even dreamed of. I've put a fortune into this thing, and we're still doing it. So just stop it. Just time out. Time out. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're finished for a while. Now let me talk to these people. Okay. Okay, I think it's time to leave, okay? That's all right. Time out. You know, sometimes people just want to get something off their chest, and maybe it's just better to let them do it. Look, I think America is the best when we work together, and when we, incidentally, let each other speak. And I don't want them to take away your ability to hear and to speak. So they're going to leave, and then we can continue. All right? You know, Trump does some of the same things. He tries to yell and scream and keep people from expressing themselves, and we shouldn't allow that to happen. So I think that what we can do here is we can beat Trump. We can come up with good arguments. We can raise the money. I've put a lot of money into this campaign, and he has to have somebody that can compete with him on television and ads. I've shown we can beat him with the NRA and these other things. I gave a speech to the Democratic Convention in 2016 in Philadelphia, where I said Donald Trump was a con man and that he would not be the right person for being president of the United States, and you should vote for Hillary. Unfortunately, not enough people listened to me, I guess. But what I said, sadly, was right on, and he's unfortunately lived down to what I thought he would deliver in this country. But we have the opportunity to make a change, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to bring in new management. The House of Representatives went to Democratic, blue, as I told you. Virginia. Just take a look at Virginia. We put a lot of money into Virginia, mainly on the gun issue, and both houses of their legislature and the governor flipped from red to blue. You can do this, folks. People want results. They want a doer. They just don't want a talker. And they're not anywhere near as partisan as some people would have you believe. They want to get a better life for their family. They want to have hope for themselves and for their kids. They want to have decent health care if they get sick. They want to be safe on the streets. They want to be able to find housing that's affordable. They want to find jobs. And those are the kinds of things that I've worked on. Those are the kinds of things that I think I could do well for the country. And not really even me. It's a team that you put together. In the end, you don't run something by yourself. And I said to somebody the other day, there's no I in team. Unfortunately, for Trump, there's no T, E, M, or A in team. Anyways, thank you all for coming. I'm sorry for the disruption, but they have a chance to express themselves, so they feel good. We've got some entertainment out of it as well. And I would appreciate your consideration. I do think that we can win this race. I think in a general election against Donald Trump, we would attract a lot of moderates from both sides of the aisle. I do think that in the Democratic primaries, There's an awful lot of people that think we shouldn't go so fast that it's not going to get through Congress, and all you're going to do is elect Donald Trump. That's not a good outcome here. So let's pull together. If anybody has any questions, we're building a staff right here just down the street, as I said before. We're opening campaign offices across the state. We'll be happy. You can send in questions, and we'll give you answers, and they'll call me. And if I'm coming through again, maybe we can shake hands again and talk. So thank you very much. I'm off to my next event. See ya. Bye-bye.